So just saw Rebel Moon for the second time. This is part 1, A Child of Fire. And my goodness, I got exactly what Zack Snyder was trying to do. Now, hear me out and bear with me as I try to, I'm not trying to convince you that the movie is good, but I'm trying to make you understand what I finally saw about the movie and my change of heart in terms of my view over what was given. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not looking forward to the director's cut. I'm actually very much looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the second movie because the director's cut is what exactly Zack Snyder wanted to do. But for this particular movie, I can see the picture. I can see what he went for. I can see why he was so psyched about the movie. I can see why the actors were so psyched about the movie, because as much as this is a Zack Snyder movie, this is a very different Zack Snyder movie. Let me explain. If you've ever seen any Zack Snyder movie, you've seen the first opening scene. You've seen the first 20 minutes. He sets up the tone of the movie. Think 300. Think Watchmen with the death of the comedian. Think Dawn of the Dead, the first time that we are introduced to the zombies with the kid biting the father and the blood everywhere. It's a very bloody opening. Think the recent movie, Army of the Dead, an introduction to how the zombies hit Las Vegas. Think Man of Steel, Krypton exploding. Think Batman vs Superman. Now, it could have started anywhere differently, but it starts with Bruce's perspective of the ending of Man of Steel. Then think again of Zack Snyder's Justice League. It begins with the death of Superman. So in almost all his movies, I think even Legend of the Guardians of Gaul, it doesn't open with an epic scene, but it opens with the kids talking about an epic story. So it has a role playing an epic event that happened. So it has that sense of epicness. As much as you know that this is going to be a child's movie, that introduction just sets up that we are going to have an epic moment at some point. We get the mind of this kid. He thinks in terms of a warrior. You get? So all his movies have consistently set up the movie in terms of epicness, action, and intensity. Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire, I think is one of the only movies that I saw rewatching it, because when I watched it the first time I was like, oh man, there are some scenes, there's so much lacking. I mean, I don't see the Zack Snyder's the Zack Snyderness that I'm used to from all his previous movies. Then I realized that this is not meant to be like the other movies. I mean, think about the opening. It's a very subtle opening. You have a young lady farming on a distant planet. It's very grounded. It doesn't have that, oh, things are exploding, and they could have done that. And even with the narration, it doesn't really try to create a scenario of big, bombastic opening. It tries to like really tone you down. And then the soldiers come, and when the soldiers come, it steals. Even with all the noise, even with all the soldiers doing whatever, trying to establish the nature of these soldiers, it takes a moment with Jimmy the robot to actually again stop you and ground you, remind you that, you know, just sit on the side of the river and have a short narrative and just chill out, enjoy the view. That was my impression. That was my understanding when I watched it the second time. In fact, when I was watching it, when it got to Jimmy's character on the side of the river, it's like the movie was trying to tell you, please settle down a bit, let's have a conscious conversation with this. And so after that Jimmy's little river talk with the young lady about the princess and the whatever, I kind of took it easy and I realized, wait a minute, this is not another Zack Snyder movie whereby he follows the same formula that he uses, which is have an epic establishment during the beginning and then follow up with a lot of action pieces and use the, you know, the hero's journey and have all these scenes that have a lot of intense, you know, action set pieces within it. This is a story about a character who's trying to run away from her past, you know, and now she realizes that her past has, you know, has finally caught up with her and she has to face it. And so the journey is very simple. It's not for us to know who these people are. It's for us to get an idea of what she's trying to do, which is bring these people together so that they can fight. not necessarily fight for the universe or fight for the farmers, but she realizes that she cannot keep running, and even that is established in the opening scene with the conversation with the old man. So for me, I felt that this movie, as much as I expected it to have a lot of action, to be like a super action heavy movie, it's not. When you go in, you should format your hard drive, you should format your thinking, you should forget about sucker punches, you should forget about 300 and treat this as its own thing based on what he's trying to do. Because as much as this is a setup, I think this is more of an introduction to the kind of people that you're going to be seeing in the next movie, because you don't really go in depth into who they are. We just get an idea of where they come from. We just get an idea of how they were brought together. We just get an idea of who they are, partially. We don't get an in-depth look into them. We don't even understand who Cora is. We don't understand what truly happened when she was a soldier. Yeah, we get an idea of that, but we don't truly understand what actually happened. You get? And even the bad guy. Now, in my previous review, I talked about the villain. I think by the end of the movie is when the villain is truly established, because now his mindset is different. The conflict or the mindset that he had at the beginning of the movie has totally changed, because he was technically killed by this other person that he underrated. And as weird as it might be, this was not Cora. Yes, it's Cora's story, but it's also the villain's story. I think that the villain, the movie plays a big role in trying to let us know, or try to make us understand, maybe in the next movie, where, when we go into the next movie, which is the Scar Giver, you clearly understand where the villain is coming from, because of what happened to him, and his fear of what he's supposed to do. He's working under someone else, and that person has given him like clear instruction. So his motivations have been set in this particular movie. Apart from that, as I said in the beginning, while going into now the second watch, I was much more, relaxed. I was not watching it to review it. I was just watching it to enjoy a movie. And for me, it was a very entertaining film. It had ideas that could be explored in the future. When you think about that planet with the giant lizard, that in itself is a movie. How industrialization came in and totally, destroyed the natural habitats. And so the natural habitat have to do all these extreme things to try to balance things out. That in itself, it's its own movie. The guy with the flying thing, that looks like it's its own story. The gladiator has his own story. What is his name? Ray Fisher's character, that in itself is its own story. So there is still so much to unpack, and this movie just did a good thing in trying to bring all these things together and trying to introduce us to these people. Not really give us an in-depth character look into them, but just give us a good introduction of who these people are. And I can promise you, if you go into this without any expectations, if you go into this without thinking of Zack Snyder's previous projects, you will have a good time. I had a good time. In fact, when I was watching this, I had the options to watch either that or The Killer or Dave Chappelle's new stand-up, and I went for this because I was just chilling. I wasn't like watching it to review it. I was just having a good time, and I realized that I think one of the biggest mistakes that I did watching the first one is that I was watching it, closely analyzing it based on Zack Snyder's previous work. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I thought about Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, after my second viewing. So basically that's it. I can't wait for the director's cut. I can't wait for the second movie. Let me know what you thought about the movie. Let me know if you've watched it for the second time and you still feel the same way as the first time. Let me know what you think about the effects, because as much as we talk about how beautiful the movie looks, there are small details in terms of effects that we forgot just how good they were. Yes, we had these grand planets and stuff, but there were those small moments. For example, with Jimmy, I watched a behind the scene of how they did the visual effects, and it was kind of cool. There are so many things that I had overlooked that were also visual effects, and I was like, yeah, that looks like super cool. And shout out to the soldier who looks at one point, there's a soldier that I was looking at and I was like, wait, did Zack Snyder really think of Bill Burr when he cast this particular character? There's a character during the opening who looks like a younger version of Bill Burr and kind of feels like a Bill Burr. I don't know if you noticed that, so let me know whether you noticed that. And basically that's it. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, support the family, be a part of the family, and I shall see you on the next one.